there was a Bigfoot sighting, I think, in that same area that there was last year.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find anything specific. So yeah, I'll have to see what I can hunt down. So I want to know. Give me more Bigfoot in Ohio.
Give me more Bigfoot lore in Ohio.
And did you see Small Towns Monsters has released a new Mothman documentary?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
That's exciting.
Probably watch that today. And then I learned there's a.
Watch that today myself if I have time before WrestleMania.
WrestleMania Part 2.
Part 2.
Yeah, I'll let you know. We may end up going like house looking or something like that tonight. But if I'm not out and about, I will hop on Discord and we can stream it that way.
Yeah, I'll be watching it regardless.
Yeah,
I'll be watching it regardless. I am excited. Last night was great. Last night, I'm glad everybody was able to come over, and even just the matches themselves were great. That Rhea Ripley match. That was so good. A Rhea Ripley match was amazing.
And she beat Charlotte Flair.
She beat Charlotte Flair.
That makes me so happy.
And we got so intense. about it, and it was so great. Great.
It was like I said, I had been a while since I watched WWE, but the last time I watched it, Flair beat Ripley for the NXT championship, and so
such bullshit.
Yeah, no, this was the way to go.
This is total. And then Sami Zayn, my energy was spent after the Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair, but the Sami Zayn Kevin Owens versus the Usos, man, that was also just masterful storytelling, in my opinion. Like, loved it. I absolutely loved it. Like the end where they're all four of them are in the ring, and Kevin Owens, you hear him, and the camera's like, "Let's end it," and they just like wail on each other. I'm like, "Yeah, that's it. That's right."
That's why we like the wrestle.
That's why we like the wrestle.
Yeah, and then I learned that there's going to be, I can't remember exactly when, I have to look it up, but there's going to be a UFO conference in outside of the Air Force Base.
Oh, the Wright Pat Air Force Base?
Yeah,
what are they hiding?
I'll have to attend it again. I'll have to look up the information, but like streaming, like the internet attendance is only like $35.
That's not so bad.
Yeah, in person's like $250.
Oh my! What are they hiding?
I was like, we better get to see the aliens for that much.
What are they hiding?
But apparently either that Friday or that Saturday, there's also going to be a costume contest and parade. And then there's going to be one costume contest for people and one costume contest for dogs.
I swear, I thought you were going to say there's going to be a costume contest for alien.
Well, possibly. We just won't know.
We just won't know. The alien costume contest.
It's going to be Men in Black with the Howard suit or whatever it was.
Yeah.
How's it?
Oh my god.
Okay, welcome, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome. Another episode that's not a month in the waiting of Our Haunted Backyard.
Yes.
Yeah, the podcast where we talk about small town spooky country road cryptids and other local legends. I also realized we should have had hometown haunts or hometown hauntings in there.
Hometown hauntings. Yeah,
that's too late though. We already got business cards. We can't change it.
Business cards. You can't change it. We can't add it. We can't. Of course, we can't do it later. We can't add it later and add business cards in later. Of course not.
But yeah, so we're back with another episode, and today it's Eric's turn.
Yeah, it's my turn today, and this one's the tale that I have today is. It is very true crimey, but it does dip into the paranormal. It does dip into the paranormal, but it is scary. It is spooky. Mm-hmm. It is from Ohio, and it is based in Ohio as well. So just to start off as like a nice segue, Ian, your experience or what is your experience with slashers, slasher movies?
Like slasher movies? Yes. Not a ton. I tend not to enjoy them as much, but I have gone back and started watching some of the classics. So I've seen the original Halloween, which I actually really enjoyed.
Oh yeah, that was a masterpiece.
I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street, which I also enjoyed. Haven't seen any Friday the 13th yet.
I love Friday the 13th.
I've watched like Scream, the original Scream. I finally watched that this year.
Oof,
And I get why people like it. I didn't as much. Partially because I'm not a big fan of. There's a difference between being meta and reference, and I don't. Referential humor wears thin for me, and a lot of that movie was just reference. There was a meta element to it, but it was also mostly just a bunch of references.
I think with Scream, I think with Scream, I think you have to be like a hardcore slasher fan going in, and because this was made after the big slasher boom of the 80s. Like Scream was made after the giant slasher boom that was the 1980s horrorscape, and it was definitely a play on all of the tropes that genre did in a meta comedy about like all of the tropes that slasher films had. And so but I also get why it is like with everything it could be considered weaker, especially if you were not like a major slasher fan like myself going in.
Well, especially like I could like when I was watching it, I'm like, I get why this was big at that time, and I understand why it was game changing. But by this point in time, we've had so many other movies that have done very similar things.
Yeah.
And then I kind of think better, like Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Cabin in the Woods.
So yeah, there's ones where I'm like, I get the importance of Scream. I just it goes into the long list of movies that I was probably too old to have watched. Like, if I had watched it when I was younger, I would appreciate it a lot more.
I definitely did watch it when I just started getting into horror, and like I had already watched at least up to part 4 of the 13th, and had already seen like a couple of the other ones like Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that. And, so I was like going in, I was like basically bred for it. Now I'm very excited to see what they did with the new one. But
yeah, I know
it's because I'm sorry.
Lex Whitten saw it and said it was good.
Good. Okay, sweet. Yeah, because I'm really interested to see it because I really liked Scream like as a franchise. But it's because today's story is the Hatchet Man of Ohio. It's very slashery.
It's about the Insane Clown Posse, right?
I wish. I will out myself as an Insane Clown Posse fan. I will out myself as a Juggalo. I'm a new Juggalo. I am
You're a born again Juggalo.
I'm a born again Juggalo. Whoop whoop.
So for this week's installment of Beer in My Backyard, kind of in the realm of, I guess, slashers, I've got Soul Hunter.
Oh,
you can kind of see it. It's got 3 big boys on it, 3 big wolfy boys.
It looks like or is that supposed to be Cerberus?
I think it's 3 separate dogs.
Oh wait, I see the feet.
Yeah, you can see the extra feet. When I first got it, I thought it was Cerberus, but then I was like, oh wait, no, there's too many feet. Or maybe it's like, like the Rat King, where it's like rats get all their tails. Maybe it's kind of the same thing, where it's a Wolf King, where the wolves get all their tails like tied up together, which would be
Rat Kings are terrifying.
I kind of want to have a Wolf King in like a D&D game.
As a monster you run across, that would be terrifying and super fun, I think, to run across that in D&D.
This is made by Toppling Goliath Brewing Company.
That's a pretty cool sounding name.
Iowa. Yeah, that's IA is Iowa, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, IA is Iowa. I'm pretty sure.
That looks roughly Iowa shaped.
I think that's Iowa. Again, people will correct us if we're wrong.
But it's a double IPA with hand-selected Simcoe Cryo, and Rewaka hops.
I've never
And
heard
it's
of Riwaka hops.
yeah, that's a lot of words I don't know. But it's unfiltered as well, so it looks super juicy, and it is super juicy, and I'm enjoying it.
I am so sorry that I am also not there in person again. I have just a lot. I'm still like, we moved everything into the house, but it's unpacking and still in the process of unpacking and everything.
That is just as big a process as moving. Like the moving itself is the 2 months that it takes you to finally get everything unpacked and organized. So,
And then having to, yeah, because it's also because we're moving like 5 people into a house. So like, there's all just 5 people's worth of stuff and lives and everything.
yeah, no, I get that. That's we originally when we started house hunting, we were kind of like maybe we can find a place that we just want to stay forever. Because moving is such like a stress, and especially the unpacking part. But
oh my god, yeah.
But now we're just like, no, let's find a place that we can tolerate for 3 years until we can like build a house or something like that. So I'm feeling you there.
Yeah, completely understandable. So yeah, I just have water to wet my whistle.
You're saving up all that beer energy for WrestleMania.
Yes, I'm saving up all my beer energy for WrestleMania tonight, night 2. Cody Rhodes is gonna win. It's gonna sound really stupid if he doesn't, but I'm saying it right now. Cody Rhodes is beating Roman Reigns.
And everyone, if you hear this and Eric's prediction comes true, you owe us like $10.
Yes, or at least a follow on this podcast.
Yeah,
you owe me at least a follow if I am right.
that's what we were talking. If we decide to do like a Patreon and then do like Patreon exclusive episodes, we've been talking about doing like wrestling because we talk wrestling so much already, like just making that into a podcast. Yeah. And either like just talking about stuff that's going on now, or maybe do like a wrestling history podcast, because I find the history of wrestling going back into like the old Carney days super interesting.
I would also love to do that. I would also be real quick before we get to the actual story, as a possible teaser for something. If another thing that we could do for a podcast that I forgot to tell you last night for Patreon is, since you didn't, I think we might have talked about it before, since you didn't grow up watching Power Rangers, I would kind of love to do a podcast where like I am the old veteran fan rewatching Power Rangers with you who has never been exposed to Power Rangers at all, and then we kind of have a podcast of just going episode by episode, me like talking about Power Rangers.
I am down for that. Power Rangin' time.
Power Rangin' time. It's Morphin' time. That's probably a podcast already.
Yeah, well, and like last time we talked about Animorphin' time, which is the Animorphs one.
Or the reverse happens, where you take me through the rabbit hole of Animorphs.
Well, there's a podcast called Animorphin' Time now, and it's basically the same concept, but with the Animorphs, where it's one guy who was a big fan of Animorphs as a kid. We could combine the two and just do like one episode is I watch an episode of Power Rangers, and the next one is you read an Animorphs book.
Oh my god! I hope they are an audiobook.
They're only like. You can read it in you can read an Animorph book in an hour.
I'm a terrible novel reader.
Yeah.
I am a terrible novel reader. Audiobooks, which is why audiobooks are great for me. It's just my diagnosed, I think, ADHD, and also the modern school system of making novels feel like homework.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain there's Animorph audiobooks. Which would be wild to hear somebody describe like turning into a fly.
But that's not an animal.
Which flies are an animal.
That's true. That's fair. But on the spookiness of everything.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about this Hatchet Boy.
Hatchet Man, not related to Insane Clown Posse. His name was, I think, he has the best name for like a scary murder serial killer. His name is Andrew Hellman.
The only thing that's missing is middle name.
Yeah.
All serial killers have 3 names.
Yeah, they didn't give me a middle name, but his name is Andrew Hellman. He also had an alias that we will get to later.
Oh.
But he was convicted of murder in 1843. It's a few years before America's actual first serial killer, Return Ward, The guy's name was Return. The first Ohio's first serial killer. What like after this was Return Ward in 18. He was convicted in 1857. The hell of a name, Return.
That is, especially Return Andrew Hellman and Return Ward. Like,
Yeah.
that is like horror film stuff. Like, that is what I'm like. I need to name this slasher character. I'm going to name him Hellman.
Yeah, Hellman. Here's all the history and everything. So it's gonna sound like a Last Podcast on the Left episode. But Andrew Hellman was 25 years old when he traveled from Germany to Baltimore in 1817. He had been apprenticed to a tailor, and his apprenticeship ended. He decided to see the world. After a few odd years of wandering around Europe, he set sail for America. And
I'm gonna travel the world, see the sights, go to Ohio,
and then end up in Ohio.
Go somewhere exotic, Ohio.
We were apparently, I guess we were back then, because we were like, again, the first colonies were the ones like by the Pacific Ocean, right? And then people just moved in.
Atlantic, but yeah, like that's Ohio. Mid 1800s, Ohio would have been like the furthest, like it would be one of the furthest, like heavily settled western regions of America, like Indiana as well. But then, like, yeah, you'd get any further west, you're starting to get into what we'd start considering like early Wild West. But so yeah, like Ohio, and at that point in time, Ohio was kind of like an up and coming heavy industrial. Like centralized industrial place. So there was like Cincinnati, Columbus, and because of that, Dayton, it were kind of major cultural and economic hubs. So, which
kind of still is a little bit now, but not as much as it was back then.
Yeah, since anymore, Dayton's kind of the lack of heavy industry has made Dayton a very sad place. But
yeah, it has, unfortunately. In 1820, he was boarding at a farmhouse of a George M. Abel in Landon County, Virginia. So before he went to Ohio, he ended up in Virginia. And he was working at neighboring farms. And while he was doing that, apparently as he was working it was shown that Hellman professed a strong dislike of women. He was quite outspoken in his belief that their only role in the world was as servants to men.
Oh yay!
Oh yay! So he's
early
already
19th century incel vibes. So
he's already a terrible person. Like, going in, we all know that he killed people, but he was already a terrible person before he killed people. Mm-hmm. So no sympathy whatsoever. But despite him being super outspoken of, man, I don't like women. He married George's daughter, who was 20 years old, named Mary.
What's that boss thinking? Like, if I was your boss and you said, you know what? Women are the worst thing.
All day this guy is on the farm and he is just spouting and spitting about like how much he does not like women, and then
he's shoveling like cow poop. He's just like, oh, I freaking hate women with their womenness. And then dad's over there be like, you know what? That guy should marry my daughter.
That's the guy who's gonna marry my daughter. That guy seems all right. The Baltimore Sun, the newspaper, described her at the time as this is a weird word. Described her as a blithe, buxom, and light-hearted country girl with rosy cheeks and sparkling eye. Totally unacquainted.
This big titty country girl.
Yeah, and also totally unacquainted to the deceitfulness of the world. So she unfortunately is the stereotypical farmer's daughter and doesn't know anything about the outside world. She probably thinks all dudes are like this, unfortunately.
All men hate me. That's just
all
normal.
Men hate me. That's it. That's just what it is. I really feel bad for her because she probably had no say in this whatsoever.
Oh, well, definitely, yeah. It's probably was more like a business transaction.
Oh, 100%. They married in December of 1821. And after just a few months of marriage, I'm surprised it took him, I'm surprised it was that long, Hellman gradually began to lose affections for his new wife.
Did he have any affections to begin with?
I don't think he had any affection at all
German
towards
says
this
like,
woman.
I really like the way you are a servant. That's I no longer like you. I'm going to Ohio.
Well, they end up going, both him and his bride end up going to Ohio.
As punishment for my dislike of you, you are going to Ohio with me.
Ohio is for lovers.
Ohio is for the lovers.
They were he began to lose affection for his new wife, and they were still living with their parents. So he kept his fiendish disposition trained and treated Mary with indifference. So like he basically he just lived there. Like he didn't really. He basically probably did everything he was supposed to do and already did, but just as like, oh, I'm married, and he didn't give it a second thought.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, even though that he gradually lost affection, which again didn't have much affection to begin with. So it's almost like you're subtracting 0 from 0. They had their first child named Louisa.
He probably hated that.
Yeah, who was also a girl, so he probably hated her immediately. They've had their first child named Louisa. She was born the following year, so 1822, and he viewed the birth as a serious misfortune.
Oh no, another woman. That's the last thing this world needs.
Oh my god. This guy is horrible. I hated this guy when I was researching him. I'm like, this guy just sounds the worst.
I mean, yeah, like we said right off the bat, like he's a serial killer. Already don't like. We're gonna take a controversial stance here and say serial killers aren't good.
Right? I don't care if that gets us canceled. Just serial killers are not good people. Sorry to pull the curtain out from under you, but serial killers not good people.
So, so they were already in Ohio at this point in time, right? With their daughter was born in Ohio?
They are still in Virginia. They were still in Virginia. They're about to get some land in Ohio, and they're going to move a farm there. The following spring, what?
Oh, I was just wondering. I was wondering about the crossover of Hellman and Johnny Appleseed.
Oh no!
Johnny Appleseed, stay away from my hatchet trees. Don't hatchet my tree. No, I hate the apples are like women's. I hate them.
They are too juicy and red, like
they are buxom like my wife,
and which I hate.
So I must now kill all these apples.
Oh my god! The following spring, they moved out of Mary's father's home and rented a small place nearby. So they're still in Virginia. They decided they were fed up with Mary's dad, moved out in 1827. They had a third child somehow named John.
Okay, so what was second child's name? I think we missed second child.
They did not give them. It might be down for when he unfortunately kills them.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Spoilers. He kills his children. But in this part of the paragraph that I got, it did not tell me. It just skipped immediately to third child.
Okay, so we do not know gender or name of second child. Just
do not do gender or name of second child. Andrew declared that if she never had another child, Andrew declared that if she ever had another child, he would kill her. Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah. I feel like if you don't want her to have another child, ultimately there's an obvious thing that you should stop doing if you don't want to have children anymore.
Yeah, you already don't
obvious
like her.
Thing. Yeah, there's an obvious thing. Stop doing.
Honestly,
legitimately don't want children anymore.
This is one of those situations where I'm like, yeah, you should not abandon your family, but this one I'd be like, yeah, go leave.
Just leave.
Just go away.
Take the kids and just go. Like, this guy is not good. During this period of like John, when their third child was born, he would leave the home for months and return home with promises of reformation. She would just keep going in and out of the house, like leaving for months, in and out of the house. And he would keep coming home with, "I'm gonna be better, I promise." We've all had relationships like that.
Yeah.
But through that entire time, they knew that the children and Mary knew that it was just a process, and there was no way that he was going to be better. And they unfortunately lived in constant fear and disposition the whole time. Yeah. So horrible home life for Mary.
It sounds like he was abusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like outside of just like hate, like hateful. He was like, probably physically abusive and probably emotionally abusive with the constant, "I'm going to get better. I'm better. The band's going to make it." "I promise, darling. It's this Hawthorne Heights is why I want to move to Ohio. We're going to be really big."
Oh man. Hawthorne Heights. Mary's, but in an uplifting sort of note, Mary's father, wanting to give his children a start in the world, sold a portion of his farm and bought pieces of land for Mary and her two brothers in Ohio. So Mary also had two brothers, which we don't know the names of. But in 1831, Andrew and Mary moved to Carroll County, Ohio. Which is where their father purchased some land for them. So their father, again, he probably, George was like, "That's the guy that's marrying my daughter." But, I mean, Andrew probably is cool with it because, again, wealthy dad. So he probably knew that going in. So unfortunately, he is also, a dirtbag for doing that. They moved to Carroll County, Ohio. They lived they lived at Carroll County for about 5 years. And Andrew became a successful farmer. He ended up owning 2 farms that the website describes as fine.
There's some pigs. There's a horse. He's got some potato. It's okay. It's fine.
People just going up to it and like, "This is a fine farm."
It's fine. Yeah, it's okay, I guess.
Middle of the road.
That kind of thing. So I just looked up where Carroll County was, and partially because Ohio is large, but also not that large. But like interesting connection, feeding back to stuff we've talked about before. Same county that Minerva is located.
That's right.
In. Minerva is the largest village in Carroll County.
Oh wow! It's all connected.
What if the Minerva monster is just this really, really old German dude?
You and I are so, I feel like every time we do a new episode of this podcast, we're closer and closer to having a cork board full of yarn, and I just feel like that's in our future.
I'm already I will make my Ohio weird cork board
I like Pepe. It's gonna look like Pepe Sylvia from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like 100%. Oh my god. So they moved in 1831 to Carroll County near the Minerva monster, which will happen later in the 70s. We have an whole episode about that. And in 1836, he sold. Wait, I think I lost my place there for a second.
I got really excited about Bigfoot again.
Yeah. They lived in Carroll County for 5 years, and Andrew became a successful farmer. In 1836, he sold his farm because they were so fine, and moved the family to Logan County, Ohio, where one of Mary's brothers actually lived. Andrew became more Morris and sullen, but his family had become used to his dark moods, and expected nothing better.
We're just used to this moody fucker.
We're just used to our dad being a horrible dad. Not like Rey Mysterio. He's a good dad. Sorry, I had to loop it back.
I should have been the Minerva monster's son.
I should have been the grass man's son.
Okay, so Logan County, that's actually getting closer to us. That's just like west of like Columbus, north of Springfield.
Oh wow, yeah, that's really close.
Yeah, that's a bell fountain.
Yeah, this is in the spooky connection at the end is in Bell Fountain. The spooky connection is in Bell Fountain. As he became just a horribly depressed dude, and his family just got used to him being a dick.
I miss my fine farms. I'm still in Ohio, and I don't have anything now. I'm sad.
Anything. In 1839, all three of his children suddenly took ill.
Oh no! All my children, look at how ill they are.
No.
It's so surprising twist of events.
All three have taken ill, and in 48 hours, Louisa, 17, and John, who was only 12. So these kids were 17 and 12. Both of them were dead in 48 hours. Mary believed Andrew poisoned them, but there was no way to prove. Andrew did it, he vigorously denied it, but he did it.
Mm-hmm.
He did it. Like, again, not to take a controversial stance, but on my soapbox.
The fact that they both got sick and died within, the same 48 hours of each other, that sounds like, I guess, I would just want more details about, what in particular they had, or if it was just oh yeah, they're sickly now. That does sound suspicious.
On September 26th, Mary's, of the same year, so 1839. So all his kids are dead, and on September 26th of that year, Mary's brother George had also just started to become unwell. She went over to help on his farm, and 2 days later, George's wife, Rachel, to see. Okay, there's a lot of different names in here, so I apologize. I got on September 26th. I'll just read it word for word instead of trying to put my own spin on it. On September 26th, Mary's brother George was unwell, and she gladly sent Henry, which is her other brother, to assist in his uncle. Oh, that might be their second kid, Henry. Henry was their second kid.
Okay, so middle child's name is Henry. Okay.
Middle child's name is Henry. I don't know why.
Mystery solved. We got him, America.
Good. We did it. So Henry, their middle child. Mary sent Henry, their middle child, to go assist his uncle, George, on the farm because he was sick. 2 days later, George's wife, who was named Rachel, went to see her sister-in-law, Mary. And when she entered the door, she saw Andrew lying in bed in the front room with his head and face covered in blood. He told her that 2 nights earlier, 2 robbers had entered the house and beat him unconscious with a club. And when he came to, he was lying on the bed, too suffering to move. Rachel asked how Mary was. Andrew said he didn't know and told her to look in the back room. There, they found Mary's mangled corpse lying in a pool of her own blood, splattered all over the wall and ceiling.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess as far as stories go, he didn't give an awfully unbelievable-ish one. I guess at first I was like, this blood, I don't know where it came from, but he's like, no, I got beat up with a club and was unconscious for a while. So but yeah, it's already my kids died and now my wife is dead
suddenly. And also look in that back room, maybe she's there. Okay, fine. I don't know why specifically there. That's suspicious.
I've got this my concussion has given me psychic powers. These concussions that I now have superpowers. And she is probably in the back room?
In the back rooms. A coroner's jury was hastily assembled in the house. John Abel accused his brother-in-law of murder. So John, being Mary's other brother, he accused Andrew of the murder. The jury, seeing Hellman lying prostrate on the bed, asked John. So this guy is still lying and keeping up the act. Andrew is still keeping up this act.
I've been attacked and my head it hurts so much. I'm so innocent.
Oh, look how hurt. He's playing possum. Just I'm so hurt. Look at me. After seeing him laying prostrate on the bed, asked John what evidence he had. He said he had none. It's like, look, guys, my brother-in-law did it. What evidence do you have? Well, okay, I don't have none. And personally,
It's just a gut feeling.
just a gut feeling. He suggested that they physically examine Andrew Hellman's wounds. And when they made the examination, the result was not a scratch or a cut or any abrasion or of any kind was on Andrew's body. So already that should tell you the blood is not his.
Yeah, and like it is not there's no evidence of him actually getting attacked.
Yeah, so again, controversial. I agree with John. I agree with Mary's brother-in-law.
So during all this, is Henry still alive though?
Yeah, Henry is still alive.
Okay, so he survived this.
Henry is not dead yet.
Feeling bad for yet.
He might be. Yeah, he might die. But but Henry is still alive. Their middle child is still alive. At this point in time. Same. Yeah, like his dad's a murderer and his mom's dead. So are his other two siblings. Like, Mary's body had been cut into six distinct. Had six distinct cuts in the head, hands, and arms. Were dreadfully bruised, and two of her fingers were broken from warding off blows. So she has defensive wounds already, and a large gash laid open her flesh of her right thigh, as if inflicted by an axe. An attempt had been made to sever the head, it seems like, and 3 gashes passed nearly through the neck. So this was a crime of like heated passion. This wasn't. Yeah. This wasn't
a burglary gone wrong.
No, this was definitely
burglary.
Are you good?
Why can't I say this word? It wasn't a rob time gone bad.
It wasn't a steely time gone south. It wasn't a theft gone thong.
That's my favorite porn. No. No, that sounds bad.
That sounds horrible.
I wouldn't watch that porn.
So no, this wasn't a robbery gone bad. This was an act of murder, like 110%. And so Andrew had apparently poured some of Mary's blood over his own head to make the storyline more believable.
Oh God.
So, yeah.
This goth motherfucker.
This black metal motherfucker. This was evidence. This was enough evidence to charge Hellman with murder. So they did. So even though there were no forensics, this is the 1900s. There were no forensics. They're like, this is pretty cut and dry.
Yeah. Guys, I don't know. Like we've not invented like science yet, but just seems
real. This guy was just bad. He was just bad. He was just a really dumb killer, like just extremely dumb. I'm sure it seems like he just also did this like out of passion. I don't think he had the research. It seems like he always had like the idea of killing his wife, and his family, and I think I don't think he like planned a day to do it. I don't think the day that he did it, September 26th. I don't think that, well, not September 26th, but the day that she was found. I don't think he pre-planned it. I think this was just a day he was just feeling the shittiest, and he just decided, you know what? She said something. Maybe she made him mad at some point. Maybe he just was fed up, and it was just a bad day, and a really bad day. And I've just killed her right then. I don't think he planned it a couple days in advance. I think he just did it. Like, it just decided to do it one day. Doesn't seem like he planned it. And not to get all true crimey, but I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. And murderers give themselves, like, serial killers and murderers tend to give themselves, like, little leeways when they're trying to get used to killing. They give themselves boundaries for themselves to cross, in a way. So that's why I think with him supposedly killing his 2 kids with poison, possibly, I think that was him being like giving himself permission to, okay, I can take a life. Like it's like, okay, I took these
it was
lives.
practice round.
Take a life. Yeah, it was a practice round.
Yeah.
Like, I think he always intended to kill them, but I don't think he knew I don't think he knew that it was going to be this way. I think he was probably just going, honestly, from it sounds like, he probably just wanted to poison her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he wanted to kill her. He may not have wanted to kill her this brutally. I think he maybe just wanted to poison her, honestly. Because if he did that with his kids, it seems like that might have been his MO. And then for him to jump straight to a hatchet, that is very like heat of the moment, crime of passion style. That's just my brain. I listen to a shit ton of podcasters. Listen to podcasts. I listen to a lot of true crime stuff. It gets me through the workday. So after he was convicted, they were like, this is pretty cut and dry. This guy murdered his wife. As he was awaiting trial, Andrew was held in jail in Belfont, Ohio. He was held there for 14 months. So again, still take a while even back then. He was held there for 14 months during the cold weather. He was confined in his cell only at night. During the day, he was allowed to occupy the upper room. One cold evening in 1840, he was left upstairs longer than usual, and finding no fastenings on the door, he simply just walked out.
I want to stay in the upstairs for a little bit longer. It's no need to be suspicious. It's I just want to be up there. I like it. It's sunny.
I like
the door is secure. Trust me, I'm not going to run away.
I promise it's secure. I picture him like doing the cartoon thing of just like touching the door to like going and him peeking out of the door corner and then just and then just walks out. A reward was offered for him. There was a reward of $300.
That's a lot of money back then.
It's a lot of money back then. Offered for his capture. All attempts to track him down in Ohio failed. Until 1843 in Ricerton, Baltimore. In Ricerton in Baltimore County, Maryland. So Ricertown in Baltimore County, Maryland. Catherine Hickle was searching for her 17-year-old sister, Matilda Horn, wife of Adam Horn, age 57.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah. As you can already see where this is going. Catherine had not believed the story Horn told her, that Matilda, the wife, had left the house late one night 2 weeks earlier wearing just her nightdress. Already, again, this guy, we already know. Andrew Horn, Adam Horn is Andrew. Spoiler, Adam Horn is Andrew Hellman. Spoiler alert. So this is his alias. He's not gotten any better at lying.
Yeah, I'm not suspicious. There was no murder done at all. I am Adam. I'm an American man.
He's not done. He's not gotten any better at lying. It had snowed heavily the night that she had gone out and so she would have not got she couldn't have gotten far in that night, especially in supposedly only her nightdress when it's like a blizzard outside. A search party was sent for her. And then that search party found in a ditch a quarter mile from the Horn household, found a coffee sack under 2 feet of ground. Inside it was the trunk. Inside it was the trunk of a young woman. Assuming it was the body of her sister, Catherine and the party went back to search around the house. Inside the building attached to the house, they found another coffee bag. This one contained her arms, the arms and legs that had been severed from the torso. And though the head was not found, Catherine was able to identify her sister's foot. She notified the police, who went to arrest Adam Horn for murder.
It's gruesome and sad, but being identify your sister's foot is...
from her foot. I know, it's super gruesome and sad, but but why that body part?
Listen, I know my sister's nasty feet.
Listen, my sister had some nasty nails, and that she never kept. That's my sister, 100%. Let's see.
Also, apparently, this guy liked his coffee.
Apparently, he had a
And
lot of
had 2
coffee
sacks.
bags lying around. They notified the police who went to arrest Adam Horn for murder, but Horn was nowhere to be found. When the police circulated the description of Horn, he was bald, German, about 50, speaks broken English. Authorities noted a similarity to Andrew Hellman of Ohio, even down to the details as a crooked third finger on his right hand. Horn was arrested in Philadelphia and extradited back to Maryland. Sheriff Slicer. Slicer!
Yeah.
That's a wrestler name right there.
Slice crime.
That's a Sheriff Slicer of Logan County, Ohio, arrived in Baltimore soon after to get a look at the prisoner. When Slicer went to the jail, Hellman, as alias Horn, recognized him. So Slicer knew immediately it was Andrew. This guy didn't even try to hide his identity. Didn't even put on a fake mustache or anything, or even a toupee. Horn. No, when Slicer went to the jail, Hellman, then known as Horn, recognized him and immediately greeted him as an old friend.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Hey,
Slicer.
Whoa. It's crazy we're meeting again like this.
Why are you meeting you here? What's the chances?
Oh, Sheriff Slicer was carrying a requisition from the governor of Ohio to the governor of Maryland, requesting the prisoner to stand trial in Ohio for the first murder of his wife, of his first wife.
Please, we caught him first.
we caught this guy first. We called dibs on giving him a trial. Governor Thomas of Maryland unfortunately denied the request, and the first trial was held in Maryland. He's like, nah, you get 2 murders on this guy.
Fuck you, Maryland.
Yeah.
We should have gotten
it. Like, if he escaped conviction in Maryland, they would hand him over to Ohio. So if he tried to pull the same shit again, Maryland was just going to be like, okay, take him.
Yeah,
fine. Get him out of here.
Okay, yeah, for some reason we let him go, so I guess you can have him instead. Like, we don't want your sloppy seconds, Maryland.
We don't want your sloppy murder seconds. Ohio never got the opportunity to try Hellman Horn. And in November of 1843, he was found guilty of first-degree murder of Matilda Horn. And the following January, he was hung in the yard of a Baltimore jail, which was witnessed by 10,000 spectators.
Wow. Yeah. That was still kind of like peak
tracks.
Well, I don't have it. We don't have anything to do today. They're going to hang a man. Let's go see it.
And the legend supposedly is that his ghost haunts his former home in Logan County near like Bell Fountain. It says it haunts the road because his old home was built near MacArthur Township Road 56 in Bell Fountain. It is unfortunately, I couldn't find any reports of like sightings or anything like that. There's a couple videos online of the road of people going out there, but it's all like just 3 videos on YouTube and they're like shot with their camera. So I don't 100%. I'm just always skeptical about that kind of stuff. And it's not like getting a little bit more seriously, because it's the old staple of go out there at night, turn your car off, and he's supposedly going to run at you with a hatchet. Like, it's that standard, what, like, in my mind, high school, like, haunt place, like that you go to if you're near the area and you're trying to scare your friends. And there really isn't much about. It's not like it's its own Crybaby Bridge where there is a bunch of stories about it. It was just like that, because it mainly focuses on this guy lived in Ohio and he murdered 2 families, basically, like. And that is the story of Andrew Hellman, the Hatchet Man of Ohio.
So his house isn't standing anymore. It's just that there's you go to the road that his house
supposedly had his first house. Yeah.
Okay.
His house is not standing anymore. And I don't even think it has like the foundation. I don't even think the foundation is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are sometimes you can see like the foundation of houses in, like, for example, Salem. There is the foundation of some houses in Salem, and there's also a foundation of a house that burned down on my favorite Morningstar Road. You can still find the foundation of a supposedly house that burned down that killed a family. But in Andrew's house, for example, the foundation isn't even still there. So it could not be his house could have never been there. This specific pot. It could also just be that thing where people knew of the story, and it's a good campfire ghost story, honestly.
Yeah. I was able to find
a haunting.
I was able to find Mary's grave.
Yeah, you can find all of the people, their graves. They buried Andrew in an unmarked grave in Baltimore.
Yeah, his is in Baltimore, but Mary's still in it's Huntsville at Herod Cemetery.
So were the two kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're right next to her, I think. And yeah, you can find their graves. Yeah, when Andrew was killed, he was buried, of course, in an unmarked grave in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't find his grave anymore because he was a murderer and he was a piece of shit.
Yeah, like, we don't want you to know where this guy is.
Yeah,
they anticipated the weird, like, serial killer Stan thing that's happened. Where, like, we don't want anybody to come find this guy.
Look, that shit interests me, but, like, I've never been a person I never understood collecting. They call it murderabilia. It's called murderabilia in the community, and I've never understood that.
Yeah, the weirdness of, like, serial killer fandom is. I will never fully understand that.
There's something to be said, I think, about, like, being interested in murder and, like, in the true crime aspect of it. I think that, and as long as it doesn't go too far, like collecting of murderabilia and, like, basically thinking that Jeffrey Dahmer was hot, like,
or treating it like it's another cop, like, yeah, like it's an amusement property, like,
yes.
Like it's Disney movies or something like that. When people treat this kind of stuff like it is a movie, basically,
and, like, these people didn't. Like, it's like, no, this isn't a movie. It's not like Hannibal Lecter. It's not like that guy is completely fictitious. So, like, it's not like you can be a Hannibal Lecter fan and it be fine. Or you can be a slasher fan. Like, I'm a big Jason fan and a big Freddy fan. Like, you can be those things, like, but we know that they're monsters. But, like, going out of your way to be a Jeffrey Dahmer, a John Wayne Gacy fan, like, it's like, no, these people, these guys killed a bunch of people. Like, you should not want to like you should not hold them on a high regard. They're terrible pieces of human trash.
Yeah. Right? And the emphasis usually ends up going on the killer, not on the victims. And yeah, it's
exactly.
It can get really gross really fast.
Exactly, because I'm interested in true crime and I listen to the podcasts, but, like, I'm not on this high horse of, like, oh man, it's like Jeffrey Dahmer was so cool. It's like, no, he was a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. And it gets there's this weirdness where I kind of find that stuff more interesting is the weird overlap between, like, true crime, serial killers, and the parapolitical, like the weirdness with the Yorkshire Ripper.
Yeah,
How he seemed to have gotten absolutely buried by the police, and they just did not try to do anything to find this guy.
Yep.
And that's the kind of stuff where I find it more, because it points at, like, a systemic issue in regards to crime, who matters, and what victims matter.
Yeah.
Versus what victims do. The police feel like, it's not a big deal. That was just a prostitute. We don't care.
Exactly. And I can't really point exactly why, like, I'm interested. The only thing I can think of, like, off my head is, like, I want to say, like, I'm just interested in the fact that it's just so crazy to me that a human being could just do things like this, and just what they what their lives were to turn them into something like that.
Yeah.
Like it's fascinating to me. Like, wow, I cannot believe someone this evil and this horrible existed. Like, and they got away with it for so long.
Just wait until you get onto my level with the cork boards, and you start going, "Oh, was the Zodiac a CIA thing?"
Oh my god. If someone were to like sit me down and like try to prove it to me, I'd listen. Be open-minded.
You can get this as an audiobook. I listened to it. Chaos by Tim O'Neill, I think is his name. Is basically a pretty good argument to be made that Charles Manson, while the actions he took weren't necessarily like sanctified by the government, that he was basically kind of like a CIA, FBI asset, not like directly worked for them, but he was kind of some like a tool that they were using.
Weird, because like that is weird.
Yeah, there's a lot with Manson in regards to like he should have been arrested. He was breaking parole multiple times, and they kind of were like, oh no, we don't talk about Charlie. Like
he was just a dumb hippie that wanted to like get laid a lot, and all of a sudden he's in charge of a commune. Like he wasn't people like to paint him as like this mastermind. He wasn't like a criminal mastermind, or like he was just some hippie that wanted to party with the Beach Boys and get laid. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm like in charge of a bunch of people now. I mean, I guess it'd be cool if we all went out to the desert and like had sex and whatever.
The connection he has into like the weirder aspects of the intelligence community, like Dr. Wally West, who was kind of like adjacent to MK Ultra,
Flash?
LSD experiments, and not Wally, Jolly. His name was Jolly West, and he was the guy who killed an elephant by giving it way too much LSD,
just to see what would happen.
Basically,
that's why
also,
they did it.
The guy
MK Ultra was all that.
He was also the doctor who interviewed Jack Ruby after Jack Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald.
Oh, wow.
West was the guy who interviewed Ruby and was like, Ruby's crazy.
I highly, if you're interested in MK Ultra stuff, the podcast of Last Podcast on the Left, they do like 5 episodes deep dive on MK Ultra.
Oh yeah, MK Ultra is a whole other like. There's stuff to suggest that, or some people theorize that maybe Mothman was an MK Ultra experiment.
Oh my god!
Which is the sadder version.
Like,
it is probably the creepier version, the creepier possibility, but also like the most boring
one. Yeah, I like to think
CIA plot.
I like to think that it was like my favorite. That it's probably not accurate but my favorite like version of the Mothman is the fact that it was a government, that it was like some kind of gene splicing experiment. Or I would also be okay with that it is a creature from another dimension. That is also my favorite thing.
Yeah, and the when I lean paranormal, it is like I kind of go with the John Keel ultra terrestrial theory for
same. Yeah.
But I also can see a good argument for Ghost Stories at the End of the World podcast I listened to. One of his older Halloween episodes, he talks about Mothman, and he goes for the CIA MK Ultra experiment, because we do have evidence that the CIA actually, there's a town in France back in the 50s that had basically, remember, like the stories of the dancing sickness,
yes,
that, like from medieval times. This was a modern example of that, and then there's evidence to suggest that the CIA had dosed the entire town with LSD, either through the water supply or through aerial, like spraying it in the air. And so we know they were doing that kind of stuff, and so the potential for that to have happened in Point Pleasant is not zero. Like it's not a 0% chance for me. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then they would maybe release a large bird into the region and have their agents go out there and act really weird.
Yep.
So yeah, that's where me and true crime intersect. Is like, what is the frickin' what's the government doing now?
Remember, kids, if you ever find yourself saying the government wouldn't do that,
They
yes,
they have
would.
done so much. We're just gonna spray all of San Francisco with bacteria to see what would happen. Yeah,
we're just gonna do that to see what would happen. We're also just gonna use a red dye, and spray that all over just to see what would happen.
Yeah, you never know. We're curious.
Oh, and all those guys that we fought against in World War II, we're gonna bring them over. We hired them all. We just hired them all, and that's how we got to the moon. That's not a conspiracy. That's actually what happened.
Yeah,
they hired a bunch of Nazis from World War II, and that's how we got to the moon. That is legitimately how it happened.
Looping us back to Hellman. Just don't trust Germans.
Don't. I'm sure all Germans are that was just one guy.
I am very German.
It was a group
myself,
of guys.
So.
It was a group of guys. It was a group of guys, and some women. But like, Germany is great. Love Germany, but Nazis are bad. Nazis are what's
awesome.
Pretzels awesome. Beer great. Lederhosen, that's your thing.
I want some later.
But Nazis are bad. It's okay to punch Nazis. Punch Nazis. Punch your
so
local
many
Nazi.
Controversial stances on this episode. Serial killers are bad. Punch
Nazis
a
are
Nazi.
worse. Punch Nazis. It's okay. Punch your local Nazi. It's fine.
So if you have a story about punching a local Nazi, or the CIA doing weird shit in your town, or ghosts, they could be German. They could be Irish.
They could be they could be dogmen. Dogman story.
Dogman ghosts. We've not done a Dogman for a while. We need to do like Germantown Dogman.
We do, because I love me a good werewolf story.
I was thinking about like next things I want to do. I'm like, we've not done a Dogman. We've not done a UFO for a while. I might try to do.
I've been trying to look for a new UFO story. Trying to look for a UFO story too.
I'm also feeling the call of Kelly Hopkinsville. I feel like I want to take a trip to Kentucky.
The Hopkinsville Goblins case.
Yeah, I'm feeling. If we want to lean into Ian's parapolitical stuff, we could do Cocaine Bear.
Oh, I need to see that movie.
I need to see that movie too. I also need to read.
See that movie.
I need to read that book, The Bluegrass Conspiracy. But yeah, so that I'm feeling. I want to keep doing Ohio stuff, but I'm feeling the Kentucky call.
I feel like if we just start a Patreon, that will be another way for us to like go to these haunted places and oops, now we're amateur paranormal investigators who also wrestle. We're gonna be wrestlers and we're gonna be paranormal investigators,
which is just the coolest TV show.
Which is just the best TV show, Ghost Slam.
Ghost Slammers.
Ghost Slammers.
Spirit Slam.
Spirit Slammers.
I'm going to power bomb the Hatchet Man ghost.
I would watch that every single week. I would watch ghost hunting wrestlers. I would watch it.
So yeah, if you got any ghost stories you want us to talk about, if you've seen a Bigfoot or know somebody who saw a weird little guy in the forest, let us know. Send us an email at hauntedbackyardcast@gmail.com or any of our social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Our Haunted Backyard. You can find us there. Yep. But yeah, thank you, Eric, for the Hatchet Man story. Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop. Whoop whoop indeed. I wish I had some Faygo.
Thank you all for listening. Until next time.
Hi, everyone.
Stay spooky. Stay nice.
Bye-bye.
Bye.